Hello and welcome in for Guerrilla Sports Off Ice. I'm Meghan Angley. Happy National Pizza Day. In just a moment, I will be joined by Evan Rawal of the Denver Gazette to talk about the current state of the Avs and their biggest needs going into the trade deadline, which will be a high-volume sprint of activity ahead of that March 6th deadline date coming out of the Olympic break. But before we begin the show, I want to give a moment of gratitude to our friends over at Furniture Row who helped to spruce up the set with all this beautiful furniture that you guys see. It's a family-owned company known for high-quality home furniture at incredible value and an easy, hassle-free shopping experience from living rooms and dining rooms to outdoor spaces. Everything you need is under one roof. With over 100 locations across the United States, Furniture Row offers a terrific selection, unbeatable value, and knowledgeable, no-pressure staff who actually take the time to help you find what works for you and for your budget. Furniture Row, where great style, quality, and value come together. Hey, everybody, welcome in. Did you guys have a fun Super Bowl Sunday? Evan, did you watch?
I did watch, yeah.
Do you enjoy football?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I enjoyed the result of last
The
night's
result. I was
game.
gonna say, did you have any stake in the outcome of the game?
No, I don't get gamble or anything like that. I just didn't want the Patriots to win. Yeah.
To sneak back in. I did watch some of it. I certainly watched the halftime performance.
It wasn't the most entertaining game, so you didn't miss much.
Yes. I saw some people tuned out after the halftime performance, which I think is really alarming for the state of that game. It seemed like it wasn't the most entertaining football we've seen in a Super Bowl.
Especially up to that point. That was the most entertaining part up to that point.
Well, I'm so glad to have you on the show. First and foremost, thank you. Evan Rawal of the Denver Gazette, beat reporter, does some of the best coverage on the Colorado Avalanche. And we are here to talk about the current state of things, kind of going into the Olympic break and the biggest priorities coming out of it. It feels wrong, like Josh Manson said, to call it a skid in how they ended kind of that last 10-game stretch before the Olympic break. It was a 4-5-1 record, but they're still 37-9-9 on the year with a pretty healthy lead over Minnesota and Dallas and games in hand to boot. So I wanted to get your opinion on what you take away from kind of that month of January where there were some ups and downs in the hockey that was being played. Do you feel that what was exposed in some of their vulnerabilities is more reflective of what this group is, or would you maybe provide some context and nuance for that?
No, what I would say is what they were exposed with is that they need, they're not perfect. They need depth because injuries happen. And that's what happened in January, and they had to deal with it, and they hadn't had to deal with it really for the first few months of the season, at least with their main lineup. So I think it ultimately is a good thing that they went through that because, the end of December, people were freaking out like, oh, this team's going to be so good. They're not going to have any adversity going to the playoffs. And then
they peaked too soon.
Now they have some adversity and, people freak out a little bit about that. And I think it's good. You want that adversity at some point. You can't just cruise through the entire season. And I think it was good for Chris McFarland to see what this team looks like if one or two guys are missing from the lineup, what he needs to address heading into this deadline, which is going to happen right after they get back. So I think it's ultimately good. And, they were going to dip at some point, and I think it's just human nature to see a break, see what they've done up until this point. They're on the hottest start ever almost at this point of the season, and I think they took their foot off the gas, and I don't think, do you want that? No, but I think it's human nature to kind of do that. So, I think they'll be fine. And what's going to be tough is just their absurd schedule after the break.
Corey talked a little bit about that schedule too, because I think the compressed schedule ahead of the break was catching up to them in terms of fatigue. I think some of that not having their foot on the gas could be chalked up to also just feeling a little worn out. And I don't think they're going to get much relief from that coming out of the Olympic break with the schedule that you're pointing to. How would you say, with some of those injuries in particular, they navigated some of those absences over this stretch?
I think Gabe's absence was noticeable, and I think a lot of that was because he was really trending up. Like, he was starting to look more and more like, not the Gabe of old, but close to the Gabe of old. especially in the offensive end, and he was getting comfortable playing heavier minutes, playing with Nathan McKinnon again. And then I think what happened is that, while he was gone, just guys dipped. Like Ross Colton got hurt. He missed. He just couldn't score. Olafson, he's been kind of up and down. I think Jared really likes him, but he hasn't been production wise there. Val has been playing well, just hasn't produced. So they just had guys slumping at the wrong time. Like Nate and Marty's games, I think dipped a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And when your two best forwards see their game dip, you're naturally not going to win as many games. So I think, like I said, it exposed some things that they need help with down the line. Like if some other injuries occur, is Olafson the best guy you want going to the top six, or do you maybe want to find somebody that can fill that third line role that you would feel better moving into the top six if somebody else got hurt? So, yeah, I mean they navigated fine. Like they just don't have anyone to replace Devon Taves, but who does? Like how many teams have people that can replace your second best defenseman? So it happens. The other thing is, I think Brent Burns' game dipped. Like I think he's one guy who really needed this break because, you play that many games, you're that age, like it happens. Like you're gonna dip. So, I think it exposed some things, but they navigated it fine, and I think they were just like, let's just get to the break. And I think Jared even thought as much as well.
Yeah. What did you make of Cale Makar's game without Devon Taves? And similarly, in that Norris conversation that he's in every year, I feel like there have been some defensemen that have had really offensive stretches that have taken away some of that shine from Cale Makar. So I guess more broadly, how are you assessing the season he's having?
It started great. I do think in November, I would have said he's a lock for the Norris, and now I'm not even sure. I think there's a lot of momentum heading Zach Werenski. I can't say his name right now.
No, it's okay.
His way, and I think Cale's game dropped off a bit, and I almost wonder if he's like in his own head at this point with the shooting, because his aim is completely off. And I'm interested to see how this works at the Olympics, because I'm sure we'll get into the power play. Like it's just a mess. But I think he's a big part of the problem right now, is that he's either lost confidence shooting the puck, or he hasn't adjusted to how they're playing him, and the power play is struggling because of it. When he's got 2 power play goals on the year. Like who would have guessed that at the start of the year?
Like that first goal, I think it was the Seattle against Seattle. That he got his first power play goal of the season, and it was kind of shocking that it had been that late in the year for him to get that first one. But I do have it kind of pinned later when we talk around the Olympics, because I'm curious. It's just hard to continue talking about the power play through the same lens. I want to try to refresh the lens that we talk about it. So I want to talk about maybe the value of the Olympic experience, Team Canada, the role that McKinnon, Makar can play on that power play, and maybe hopefully something good can be born from that. So I'll put a pin in it to revisit power play, because I'm sure you're not probably sick of being asked about it, but you're probably getting asked about it a lot at this point.
Well, yeah, people yell about it on social media. Jared's probably sicker of being asked.
He's probably sick of being asked by us.
But yeah, I mean, Cale, I think his game dipped. I think that's fair. At both ends of the ice. Offensively, has there been a game like we haven't seen the Cale Makar coast to coast stuff this year, really?
Right.
Like it just hasn't been there. Whereas I feel like we've seen Sam skate the puck more. So I think there's more for Cale Makar to give, and I am fascinated to see how this Olympics kind of works for him, if he can get his mojo back, because we'll talk about it later. Like they're in the same spots on that Team Canada power play that they are in Colorado.
Yes.
So how's that going to work? Are they just going to look better suddenly? So we'll find out.
I do wonder. No, all right, I'll save it for when we get there. So putting the power play aside for a second, I'm wondering what kinds of areas of the Avalanche Jared Bednar should look into over this break, because over the Four Nations break, he dug into projects, as he called them. And last year, it focused on depth scoring and how he could get more goal support out of the rest of the lineup outside of the top guys. So I'm curious, if you had to guess what Jared Bednar's project to dig into over the Olympic break would be, what do you think that is?
I think for him, it's just going to be, how do we get back to the standard that we had those first few months of the season? Because they were missing a few guys, but I think it was just their consistency was not nearly the same level as it was. I can't remember Philly. What was they were winning going into the third, and then they just fall apart in the third period. And then even the game against San Jose, they're playing really well. They were dominating. They should have been up more than 2-0 going into third. And then they start the period, and it's just not what you saw the first two periods. So it's just the consistency, and he's going to have to find out, how do we get back to that consistent level when the games are going to be tighter.
Right.
There's no practice. There hasn't been much practice this year to begin with.
Yeah.
But just finding that consistency that they had found those first 2 or 3 months of the season, and how to get back to that when it's really going to matter the most. And if I was him, one thing that bugs me is that, they've tried all these combinations with moving players around, but Marty and Nate have been together this whole season. Like, at what point is it too late now to maybe see how would Marty would look with Brock Nelson?
Yeah.
Just to see different combinations, because now we're seeing Lehkonen, Nate and Nichushkin a little bit together.
Right. And I've liked it, even though it's kind of two guys that will retrieve pucks and will be hard on them. That feels a bit same. Yeah. They're actually really different in what I think they've brought to that line.
Yeah. And I mean, when Gabe comes back, you could put Gabe there, and I think they want to keep Val and Brock together because their numbers together, at least defensively, are great. And what happens if you put, Marty on the other wing? Like, what happens there? So I think it might, I'm worried it's a little too late for that, unless they just run away with this division, like at the end of 22, when he was just like, yeah, we're just going to try these things and see what works for the playoffs. So that's something I'd like to see, but I really think it just comes down to finding that consistency that they had at the start of the year.
I did want to ask about Brock Nelson, and Corey and I talked a little bit about how he's maybe been this unexpected surprise, though he shouldn't be, given his body of work through this point. And what I've noticed is, at least since he's been playing some of his best hockey after the offensive side of his game was maybe a bit stagnant or quiet at the start of the year, but since it's come alive, it's just continued to ramp up from there. And he's had a lot of changing talent around him, though with now Val Nichushkin, I think, has been some of the best results. It seems like Ross Colton, when he's been elevated to playing alongside Brock Nelson, his game gets better. And I think there's kind of a Ross Colton side of that would explain it. And so I just feel like, even there have been periods we've seen Olofsson play with Nelson and look pretty good. And so I'm beginning to wonder too, if Brock Nelson does have that ability to just elevate others around him, and if someone like Marty Netschus might benefit from that, like you're saying.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it just comes down to comfort. Like, I think I probably would have underestimated just how tough it would be for him to change scenery after being in one spot for a decade.
Yeah.
And it's not just like the spot where you live, but just the systems and all this stuff. And I think you could see maybe he was overthinking things that first month of the year. Because the one thing I notice now is that he's more willing to carry the puck.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's got more confidence that he knows where his teammates are going to be. He knows where he should be. And he just knows, like, okay, yeah, I've done this for a decade. Like, I've scored here. It's just playing hockey in a new place. So I think there's just a level of comfort now that we didn't have. And yeah, I agree. I think Ross has looked really good on that line. I actually think Ross has been fine for the most part this season.
Yeah.
But, Brock has shown that he can play with anyone. And especially now that he's got the confidence to carry the puck and shoot the puck. Like, I don't know if he was shooting enough at the start of the year.
Right.
He looks like a very different player. And I honestly am surprised at how good of a two-way player he is, because we just didn't hear a lot about that when the trade happened. And if you look, like, he didn't really kill penalties on Long Island. So, and he's been huge in that department here. So it's everything's kind of just gone up to the point where every time he shoots, it's like, well, he might score, like, at this point.
No, I think it's a great point. I wonder if there was just settling into what the role would be on this team in being a leader in New York to coming here and having respect for what Val Nichushkin means to this team. Sometimes I think then maybe he would defer for the pass option when there was a better shot option available to him. So I appreciate when he's shooting more. And similarly, can he drive to the net, or is the net front Val Nichushkin's area to command? Whereas I think they're most effective when they're a double layered threat and they support each other on the forecheck and in driving to the net. And so I think it was, like you're saying, a matter of Brock Nelson, like, settling into what's appropriate with a ton of respect for kind of the seniority of it, the Val Nichushkin of it. And I think that now that he's kind of found his place and his voice, it's allowing him to be a little more dangerous, because I also didn't think of him as a forechecking presence, but even in seeing him win races to pucks and battle for them, he's actually pretty good at that too, at least in how he leverages his long reach.
Mm-hmm. Maybe some of it at the start of the year is that they were asking him to do a lot, and he
Yeah.
was kind of adjusting to that role. Not that he didn't do a lot in Long Island, but now he's playing everywhere. And on top of that, like he started the year in that Miko spot on the power play, and then it didn't go very well.
Right.
So they took him off, and I think they took some things off his plate to allow him to get more comfortable here. So it's a little bit of everything. And like now that I think it was a point in November when we were in Nashville and I saw him pull off that curl move that now he's pulling off like every night. And it's just like, okay, well he feels more comfortable here. If he's willing to do that, which we didn't see it in his time here last year in the playoffs, and then that first month, then you can tell that the comfort level is growing.
Yeah. And just affirming what you're saying about the defensive side of his game, I also didn't fully appreciate that about him. But at the start of this year, when things weren't really going well for him production wise, I thought that was solid in his game. And I can appreciate then the reliability of how good he is in his own end. And then this top of the league penalty kill has been interesting because I thought they had a good penalty kill last year, but it showed cracks in the playoffs and it cost them. And I think to have such a strength in their penalty kill starts with Brock Nelson being utilized on it more and just winning draws. I think his record on the penalty kill winning D-zone draws in particular might be the best on the team, with Jack Drury having like the best D-zone face-off percentage generally. And those two together, I think, have contributed to the success of the kill this year. So that's maybe the like bright spot too of where the Avs are at going into the break. I've seen some conversation around too that among the teams, they haven't been shorthanded as much as others. So the penalty kill hasn't truly been tested, but I feel a confidence saying it's a good penalty kill.
Yeah. And I mean, when you have the puck, you're not going to take as many penalties. That's just how it goes. I think, not just Brock, but Jack being here the whole year. For whatever reason, previous years, the Avs have just been totally fine just throwing two wingers out there to take a face-off, and then you lose the face-off, and you're stuck defending.
Right.
Just having Brock and Jack's at like 58% in the draw, like that does make a little bit of a difference, especially on the penalty kill. Like when you want to get it out and you make them have to come back in the zone. And then you've had Brent Burns and Manson who have been pretty good at defending that defensive blue line on the penalty kill. So I think it's a good penalty kill for sure. And again, it's going to be tested in the playoffs because, like you said, they had a good penalty kill last year and it just kind of fell apart in the playoffs. Yeah. So anything can happen there when a team can just break things down over a 7-game series. So,
yeah, I think it's tough. Like, I don't want to get into the weeds on that part of the conversation too, but I think that even the strength of like the Dallas power play faltered over the course of their own playoff run. And so it's just like, it even just needs to be good enough to withstand when teams are likely to get more calls, more power play opportunities. But I think as the Avs go deeper, you are not even talking about the penalty kill as much, but I don't want to get too in the weeds.
The problem is that last year in the playoffs, both units stunk, like the power play and the penalty kill.
Right.
You just want to hear yourself.
Yeah, apparently.
But yeah, when both units stink, it's a problem. But the Boston Bruins 2011, they won with a terrible power play, but that's because their penalty kill was incredible. Like if you really like, I think if you ask the coaching staff, they would say, well, we'd rather have a great penalty kill. Like if we had to choose one of the two,
right?
They'd rather have great both. But like of the two, we'd rather keep the puck out of our net.
Yeah.
Because especially with the Avs, like with how good they are 5-on-5, I think that's what they choose. It's just you can't have both be terrible at the same time in the playoffs because you just can't win that way.
Right. As we painfully discovered. Okay. We've kind of been teeing this up, but what have you pinpointed then as the greatest needs of the Avs ahead of the deadline positionally?
I think they want another center, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a third line center at this point, just because I don't know how many are going to actually be out there.
That's so interesting. Keep going.
I wonder if the Avs think that they can get by just fine with Jack Drury as the third line center and maybe get like a fourth line center, like Sam Carrick in New York is somebody I thought might be a good fit. And the other thing is like maybe they keep Jack as the third line center and they just go get another winger and try to just load up on the wing. because I just don't know what third line center is going to be out there. Columbus is on this hot run where a month ago it seemed ridiculous that they might make the playoffs, but now they might. And they had probably the two centers that people would look at in Boone Jenner and Charlie Coyle again. And I just don't know if they're going to want to sell those guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know who else is going to be out there really. Like just a fourth line center. Like I just think they need another center. Because they just don't they can use Parker there. They don't want to. It's clearly they don't like Bardakov. I'm not sure they like him that much at all at this point. They just don't want him at center now that they've tried him on the wing. So they need another center, and I think they have to get at least one more defenseman, maybe two. You just nothing against Jack Ashan. He's been completely fine when he's come up here, but you cannot. I don't think they want to go in the playoffs with him being the seventh defenseman. I just don't think you can do that. Especially if like a guy like Manson gets hurt. Are you going to run Gerard, Malinsky, Ashan in the postseason? Like it's just as much as the Avs play with speed, like we've seen, size matters. Like it just does in the postseason. So I think they're going to want to go get another defenseman that's got some size that can help and eat minutes if they have to. And I think their top six when they're all in the lineup is the best in the league. But injuries happen in the playoffs. They just do.
That's really interesting on the 3C conversation, because when I was just looking at guys that I would like the Avs to target, a lot of them have produced kind of similarly to where Jack Drury is at this year. And so part of me is like, well, would that be so bad to have kind of a Jack Drury-like center for a fourth line, and you just kind of pick between the two depending on what is working the best? Because you already know there's chemistry between Drury and Kelly. So it might just be a matter of finding someone that is a depth C, a bottom 6C. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, in part because some of what else is out there is either a 2C that's going to come at a cost then to be a 3C in Colorado, or just no one has leaps and bounds surpassed what Jack Drury has done this year to like feel comfortable, because you're going to have to give up something still. And I go back to the last several deadlines to include like Charlie Coyle, who I really liked. And I think too, they're just probably in this place of not wanting to continue to give up assets for either a temporary option or something that is maybe a bit of an overpay, if you will, respect to role.
Yeah, if anything gets into a bidding war, like the Avs can't win. Like they just don't have the assets anymore to pull it off. Like Guyayev has not had a good season in the KHL. Like if that's a guy that they're going to throw out there, like I think teams are now like, well, what is this guy?
Right? Is he a forward? Or I'm just kidding. I'm sure.
But then even Nabokov hasn't had a good year. Like it's just been a tough year for their top prospects, because they just don't have a lot of assets to give up. So they made that Brock Nelson trade. They give up some of their best assets, and they just don't have another one of those, unless I'm missing something in their wheelhouse. So, and then talking about getting other wingers, we still have the Logan O'Connor factor of like, is he actually going to come back? Because and it sounds stupid to say, but like he would legitimately probably be the best bottom six option they could pick up going into the postseason, just knowing what he does for this team. Assuming, he's going to get up to speed. But that's just a huge if, because as much as Jared says he's trending up, like we haven't seen him.
Well, and it sounds like it's different from the other hip that he came back from, because he came back and he assumed the regular speed quickly. Like that gives me confidence that if it was just hip related, he'd be fine. But because it's this mysterious tissue area, I don't know what he looks like coming back from that injury, because we don't know very much about it in general.
And also they are always talking about like, oh, well, we're going to manage it. Like we found a way to manage it. Well, it's like, well, are you just holding off another surgery? Like, is this just a delaying the inevitable type of thing? So we just don't know. It'd be great to have him back, like, because another penalty killer there. He was their second leading scorer in the playoffs. He's just very trusted by Jared. And I also think he's an underrated part of, and I'm sure you'd agree, of the leadership group.
Right.
Like he's just grown into a great big role in the leadership group. So to get him back would be huge. You just can't ultimately rely on that. So, they're going to have to probably, it's going to be like Gabe last year, where it's like, well, is he coming back in the season or not? No. Okay. We need to go out and kind of add here. because now you have the playoff salary cap or whatever that leads to.
Yeah.
I think they're going to need to know within the next 20 days if Logan's coming back and if they need to go find somebody.
Yeah. There were a couple wingers I flagged in my like preliminary target list that have a similar Logan O'Connor quality, and it's just because of that fear and possibility that if that is not someone that's going to be available to them conceivably, that is then an area that they would seek to replace. That like respect to Kiviranta, I just don't think that even what Kiviranta brings replaces what Logan O'Connor brings.
Yeah, and it even comes down to, like I said, I think Jared likes Olofsson. In the playoffs, is he going to like him that much? Like,
Yeah.
I think he's underrated defensively. Like, he's a lot better with his stick than I thought he was. And like his analytic numbers are very good defensively. And then you have Ross, who's up and down, but they don't trust Bartikov, and it's February.
Right.
Like, you're not going to play him in the playoffs. Like, I don't think they will. Makar is the same thing, where he's improved, but they just don't have that trust to play him more than 5 or 6 minutes in a game that's tight. So they need bodies that Jared's going to trust when it comes down to it, because you just can't be a 3-line team in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's where I want to give just like a pause for a side note of, is there anything Bartikov could have done differently through this point? Like realistically, that would have changed the result, the lack of trust.
I think for me, I would have just played him more in the start of the season just to give him those minutes and grow. Because that's the time to play him. Like, the team was rolling. You play him more than 7 or 8 minutes a night. I do think it's tough in that he doesn't speak a lot of English. Like, I think that can hold anybody back. But I think the problem is that he just hasn't played enough consistently, so that when you're out there 5 minutes a night and getting a few shifts a period, you're playing not to hurt the team. You're not going on instincts. You're just saying, I'm just going to do the safe thing and I'm going to live to fight another day.
Yeah. I think that's tough. And then kind of similarly, like in talking about what are the Avs' biggest tradable assets, if any, and the concern around maybe a lack of prospects, I think Gavin Brindley is an interesting player in this conversation, where the organization is at with him and his future plan with the team. I think it's interesting too that he's part of a return that helped them to move on from Wood and Coyle and at least get something in return, as well as an additional 2nd-round pick in 2027. So that's like they've got now 2 seconds in 2027 that could be part of a deal in some way. And I'm not ready to part ways with Gavin Brindley, but like that's also then 2 tradable assets that come to mind that, again, I wouldn't like for them to move on from. But in addition to that, any roster players that come to mind for you?
Bartikov is somebody that I could see them throw into a deal where say, okay, you can go play somewhere else, maybe get more minutes there, and another team might really like him, like a team at a different stage
New
in
Jersey?
Well, yeah. Yes.
We messed up. Please
I don't know what
us.
that organization is even doing, so it's hard to say. But just, like a team that's not trying to win the Stanley Cup could maybe give him more minutes. I love Ross. I could see him being the guy that they try to throw into a deal just because of salary wise, like especially if they're going for somebody that's making more money.
Yeah.
He makes good money. And sometimes you wonder if there's like a battle between him and Jared sometimes, like just the way that Jared says some things. Well, he had different thoughts. I had thoughts. I just sometimes wonder about that, even though I think he's played well this year. I just wonder, is there a fit long-term here? And he's only got 1 more year left on his deal too. So if it's not a fit, then I could see him being somebody that's thrown in. Beyond that, like, I don't think there's many roster players. Like, I had wondered about Olofsson just on like the throwing money into a deal part type of thing.
Right.
But he doesn't make a ton of money, so it just doesn't make a ton of sense. And they just love Kivy, so I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think that the return that Kivy could yield would justify moving on from him. And I don't mean that to disrespect him. I just think he has more value in himself than what he could get in return.
Yeah.
I wonder with Olofsson, it has seemed, I really like him too. I want to believe that Jared Bednar likes him too. Has there been any possibility that some of his usage over this last stretch has been to showcase him in kind of teasing maybe other interests? Like, hey, if you need top 6 help on the cheap, this guy still has these parts of his game. And it just maybe hasn't gone so well too in terms of showcasing that part of his game. But I would agree that Vegas, now here in Colorado, I think he is more committed on the defensive side of the puck than he's gotten credit for.
Yeah, and it is going to come down to like if you're trading away a forward and you're getting a forward, you're still in the same spot where you don't have a ton of depth. So I think if you could keep Olofsson, he's a perfect depth guy to have going into the playoffs. I've actually been more impressed with his defensive play than his offensive play, which has surprised me. But yeah, he doesn't make a ton of money. Like I don't think you want to throw him into a deal if you can avoid it.
Yeah.
Like just he's good depth to have going into the postseason.
What about Sam Girard? That's a name I've seen come up a lot.
It's a hot button topic.
They're not ripe with left-handed defensemen to begin with.
I know. And now he left everyone with one bad, like the worst thing that he's probably done all season.
I feel so bad. It's like a hyper focus on the mistakes.
Mm-hmm. It is a hyper focus on him because I agree with Jared where I think he's been trending up.
Yeah.
I think the Taves injury kind of hurt him because, I don't think he's the Sam that we had a couple years ago where he was jumping into the play offensively. He's making an impact there. He's just not that guy anymore. It doesn't seem like. It seems like he's lost a little bit of his burst with the skating. So
NHL Edge would agree.
Yeah. Oh, really? I don't look at those.
Yeah.
And it's just a quick thing. And if you lose a little bit of quickness at that size, it's going to be noticeable. So I think in a third pairing role, he's been completely fine.
Yeah.
And it's just Corey and I talk about this all the time in the press box. Are the Avs going to be totally comfortable going into the playoffs with a third pair that's under 6 foot tall? Or do you want to go get somebody that can maybe fill that role and then have Jared decide who he wants to play at that given time? I don't know I think a Sam trade it just seems more likely in the offseason. Like it's just too big of a piece to move right now. And the coaching staff still really likes him and trusts him. So I don't know if that's a move especially, are you moving Sam out and getting another defenseman? Then you're just in the same spot where you're one injury away from playing Jack Ashawn or Keaton Middleton.
Doesn't really help the depth unless somehow Sam Girard turns into 2 defensemen.
I don't think that works.
I don't think that works. I'm curious to qualify the size conversation more because you're not alone. Like Corey kind of alluded to, whatever this depth defenseman would be in this hypothetical trade, he's probably a little bigger than what they have represented at the bottom of the lineup right now. And I guess I'm curious why. Like, was it something from the Dallas series that you were seeing that you could point to and say, I think maybe some size would have helped them here?
I think it's just everything with the NHL. Like teams are moving away from having multiple small defensemen because in the playoffs, when you can just attack and you understand what these teams' weaknesses are, it can get exposed a little bit more. I saw Brendan Dillon was mentioned, like they had 2 scouts at New Jersey's game the other day. He's a name I had thought about. The only issue he has another year at $4 million. So I do think it's just something that the NHL is moving away from. And yeah, Dallas, like they're not afraid to just dump it in the corner and say, yeah, we'll just grind it away against these guys. I don't blame Sam for like the second Mikko goal in Game 7 last year. People get mad at him for, it went off him into the net. But it's just like, he's not trying to put it in the net. He's just in this position to stop the puck. Bigger problem was Ryan Lindgren forgot how to play defense right before that. So it's a hot button topic. Like I get where people are coming from with, I think he's just become the guy that they're kind of ready to move on from. I just think it's more of an off-season thing because they don't have enough defensemen to really dump Sam Girard right now.
Yeah.
I think they'd be in a much better spot if they had Girard and another defenseman to choose from. And then, if somebody gets hurt, you're not going to find a better 7th defenseman than Sam Girard coming into the lineup at any point. So it's just a tough deal to make at this point in the season.
Yeah, it is interesting. And for what it's worth, I agree that whatever that depthy is probably does need to have a little bit of size. And it's for everything you were just saying about where their comfortability lies with the depthy they currently have in Middleton and Ashawn. And I think Middleton obviously represents size, but I don't mean this to come out incredibly critical, but I don't think the pace of his game fits the Avs playing style and the puck skill. Like Manson has high puck skill. So it's not just that he brings physicality effectively, but he can also break out pucks, transition play up ice. And so I think they just need a defenseman who's more well-rounded in his toolkit. And then a Sean who can do those things, doesn't have the size to then be the same physical impact the way I don't even need him to be what Josh Manson is physically. I think that it needs to be harder on pucks, harder to get off pucks, more protective of them. And so all that to say, that's why I would affirm size is probably important. The only thing I'm worried about, I guess, in looking at some of the bigger defensemen around the league who play in more third pair roles, some of these guys have signed contracts that would be a little spendy to justify. And so the only thing I could justify in my head is, well, that's comparable to Gerard money, but you have to send Gerard money out in order to have that make sense. But again, to your point, you're still in the same place with the issue of not having depth D behind whoever that guy would be.
It's really going to come down to whether do they just want a depth defenseman or do they want somebody that they can replace
an upgrade
somebody with. Because if it's just a depth defenseman, you can go find those. Like you can get up a 3rd or 4th round pick. Like one guy I thought about was I can never say his name. Urho Vakainen.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yes.
I could see him being somebody that they would like as, okay, we need another guy. Like if it comes to it, we can put him in. But yeah, I mean, that was part of the Solovyov trade that just didn't make sense, that they just got rid of him and they don't have anybody to really take that spot. Like, I think they just didn't see the fit there, but also like, I don't know if they're in the position where they can just be giving away depth defensemen when they don't have a lot of them. So
no, I agree. Like on one hand, they turned a waiver claim into something they get back. I think it's a 7th pick and Valtteri Puustinen. Which is better than nothing, but there hasn't been anything to replenish what's been lost, and it was already a need in their lineup. So I thought something was going to happen ahead of the Olympic break, at least with respect to that.
Yeah, I think the Panarin thing was the only, but I there was all this talk about, oh, this is the deadline, but like what owner wants to pay a guy to go sit on a beach for 3 weeks? Like, I think a lot of owners probably were not ready to sign off on any trades prior to the deadline. So it'll be interesting to see afterwards, because I also think part of what last year was that they made so many changes that they didn't think the chemistry was maybe necessarily there when they needed it the most.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think McFarland's definitely going to do something, but I don't know how much he's going to do. Like I don't think they want to rock the boat too much.
I think it is interesting. Like Brock Nelson, I think his game got better at the end of the regular season. Same with Charlie Coyle. And things are just a little bit shaky in the playoffs. Like for Brock Nelson, I think it was just quiet in the playoffs. Still finding chemistry with Val Nichushkin. And they really improved with Landeskog, which hopefully we're in a much better place around that conversation. And then Charlie Coyle, who I thought was great on the PK in the regular season, like really struggled in the playoffs.
That entire third line was an issue. Yeah. Once Ross went down, it was like Drouin and
what are they?
Kivy? Did they have Kivy on that line at that point? Because I think they might have, because they kept the Drury, Kelly, O'Connor line together.
They did.
So it was just they weren't getting anything from that line. So that's why with Coyle being out there, I'm like, well, would they want to go get him again?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it didn't work in the playoffs, do they want to take that chance again?
Well, and my worry is they put kind of an internal cap on what they're willing to pay a 3C, around $5 million. And so like anything upwards of that, they're just not comfortable with.
Yeah.
I wonder if they've revisited, first of all, I'm saying that. It's not like the team has suggested this in any way. That's just the sense I got in why they'd move on from him over this summer, is to like create space, extend Brock Nelson, pave the way for that kind of thing, because there's just a lack of comfort paying a 3C that much. Anyways, with that being said, then I'm like, well, then what's changed? And maybe they've just had a change of heart. Like, oh, actually, this is a really important position. But so it's not even specific to just Charlie Coyle. I am curious, going back to our earlier conversation around like a 3C, if they weren't willing to kind of justify that $5 million range with Charlie Coyle, are they still unwilling? And that puts us then in the room of maybe it is just like a 4th line center that they feel more comfortable with.
Just somebody that can keep Parker on the wing.
Yes.
Where they really want him. And, you mentioned Brindley. Like, I don't think he's somebody that they trade, but his game has dipped. But I think I'm interested to see if he gets the Malinsky effect from last year.
Yeah.
Where he gets 3 weeks away and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I feel better because I've never played this many games in my life before. So
Yeah.
But yeah, and the other, like in 2022, like they had Comfer as the third line center. It was a good third line center, but what made them so good was that their top two centers were just playing at an elite pace. So do they think they can get by if those two guys keep going at this pace with Drury as the third line center? I think that's what they're going to have to decide over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think too that the third line of these last playoffs is maybe a cautionary tale as to like wanting to get that a little more right, wanting to have a little more certainty around what it should be. I think there was a comfort in like, well, it could be a couple different guys. Yeah. There's a few looks that could work, and then maybe they want to get a little clearer on what that third line would be well before the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to transition to our National Pizza Day conversation for just a second. In case you didn't know, it is a national holiday. February 9th, National Pizza Day. We are celebrating with some Mod Market pizza. We've got a couple options there, and it's all centered around the question I'm sure you've been asked at least once before. Does pineapple belong on a pizza? Den Perks is bringing the fun to the airport with the Great Pineapple on Pizza debate happening now through February 16th. Love it or hate it, everyone gets a vote. Visit pizza.denperks.com and make your voice heard. There's a point to it all, too. It's to sign up for Den Perks Rewards program if you so choose. It's the program that literally pays you to eat and shop while you're at the airport. You earn points with every purchase, then redeem them for rewards such as gift cards, cash, and airline miles. And right now, during the debate, when you sign up, you're automatically entered for a chance to win a $1,000 prize or several $100 runner-up prizes. Plus, Den Perks gives you access to amazing local favorites like Mod Market, which there are 2 locations in the airport. There's Bardot, Snooze, Tacos, Tequila, Whiskey, and more, all right in the concourses. So vote, eat, and earn. Visit pizza.denperks.com and join the debate today. I'm going to put some pineapple on the pizza. Have you ever had it, Evan?
Pineapple on pizza?
Yes.
I think I have had it at some point, but not recently.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how Liv did this. I'm so scared. I'm not going to eat it live on the air. That doesn't seem like good podcasting.
Do you think it does?
I've never tried it.
Okay.
So I'm excited to learn today how I feel about it. I don't think I'll hate it. I think I'm pretty open to trying different foods, but I'm not sure. What is your go-to pizza order?
Oh, mine's just I'm basic. I like olives and mushrooms and just like a meat on there. So.
Okay, yeah, like a supreme.
Yeah. I love pineapple. I just don't put it on pizza, so I can't say.
Yes,
I probably would enjoy it. I just wouldn't necessarily put it on there all the time.
Yeah, I think I'm excited to try it. I don't know that I'd like regularly order it, but I don't think I'll hate it.
Yeah.
But shout out to Mod Market. I've been to some of the locations like in the Denver metro area, and I've really enjoyed their pizzas. So I'm excited to try it. All right. We can transition to kind of the final topics of the day around Olympic expectations. I guess, what country do you think might surprise people in the Olympics?
The problem, if I had to get, if I was throwing in a dark horse, I'd maybe say the Czechs, and that's just because I think they have goalies that can potentially steal a game.
Yeah.
Like I want to say Finland, but UC Saros is just so up and down, and they don't have anyone to really replace him if he's not very good. But yeah, the Czechs like Lucas Dostal,
yes,
the Jamelka from the Mammoth, like they have good goalies. Like they do not have a very good defense. They have some star power up front, but everything's coming up Czech these days because of how well they did in the World Juniors, and I could just see them competing because their goalies just get hot. And in such a short tournament, that could be all that matters.
Do you have any take on Max Curran?
Is he on the team?
No, I'm so
Okay.
sorry. Just thinking back to
Okay.
World Juniors and then his recent commitment to UMass, and then I'm
I-
wondering if you got to see him in the rookie tournament, had any
He got
thoughts?
hurt like right away, didn't he? Like if I remember, he got in that fight in the rookie tournament, and then he
Yes.
didn't come back. But he's having a good year, and it's fascinating just how these guys can now go from the WHL to now he's going to go play in the NCAA, and
I'm
it's like the
excited.
perfect middle ground. Whereas if he had gone to the Eagles, like what are the odds he ends up in the ECHL somewhere? Like they
Right.
just don't have room for him. So I think it's great, and it's just hard to get connected to any prospects right now because in a week they could be gone.
Oh, you're so right, Evan. Because I already feel connected to him.
Right.
Because one like tournament to the next, he if I'm not mistaken, battled injury the year before too. But I think that he showed improvement in this rookie tournament. But there was also, I don't say this to insult him, like he is the type of prospect I think would benefit from that longer runway through college. And so not making that immediate jump to the pro level is such a good thing for him, in my opinion. Just because there's little habits in his game that I think if he matures through the course of the NCAA, an intriguing player can exist on the other side of it because of his toolkit and his size. And I think that in seeing the way Taylor McCarr's skating improved from his first dev camp to his senior year at Maine, I am excited for what Max Cran could become, but now I'm sad that he might not become it in the Avs organization.
Yeah, I can't get connected to any prospects after Kobe. It's all down.
I'm sorry.
It's too much.
Okay, this is my ADHD brain going back to a question I was thinking earlier around Bardakov, but with Kovalenko not in the NHL, I thought that was such a strange thing because to me, he was a full-time NHLer, just needs some time. And then the way he was utilized in San Jose felt weird. Honestly, didn't feel like it was reflective of who he is as a player and what he could be. And so I was just kind of sad to see him maybe not fight for that NHL dream a little more past that year. Where I'm going with this is internally, he commanded like a lot of respect in what he could be. Does a player like Bardakov then like face a similar fate of maybe not being recognized around the league for what he could be in this league? We have this front row seat to what we think he could be, but I just worry, like, would he get the Kovalenko treatment?
It really just come like he's already kind of like he already had that interview a couple months ago where he had his agent talk to the Avs about not getting enough ice time. And I think with some of these guys, it just comes down to, do I want to like do this another year where I'm like, okay, can I make it in the NHL, or do I want to go back to Russia where like he had a full-time role, he was a third line player, second line player? Like, do they want to just stick it out, or would they rather just say, oh, well, I tried, I'll go back to Russia, and maybe down the line I'll have another opportunity? So I think that's what Kobe just. I don't think Kobe's having a very good year in the KHL either, too. So
I can't bear to look.
I know it. It's just, yeah, I think Bardakov's kind of the same way where if he doesn't get another option, like these guys just always have the KHL there. They just do, and they're probably going to play more over there if they really just decide to. This is what I'm going to be in the NHL. Then I'll just go play at home.
I respect any player making the right decision for themselves, their families. So no judgment. It's more so that I just really believed in Kobe too, and I think.
Oh, I'm heartbroken.
I'm sorry, Evan.
Because he got off to such a great start in San Jose. Like he looked like he fit great with celebrating, which granted anyone could play well with him, but it just seemed like a good fit. And then it ended poorly, and I think him and the coach didn't see eye to eye. And then
that's what I've heard.
Okay, well, I'll just go home.
Which makes me sad. I was like, but there's other coaches, Kobe. Give it. Anyways, it's not his fault. He made the decision that was right for him. I just worry that, like, honestly, it's any of the prospects too. The way that I feel about Sean Behrens, I kind of thankfully think that I don't know that the rest of the league is wise to Sean Behrens the way that I am. And so he probably doesn't then command the same kind of like attention.
When we were in Canada, I was hoping he was going to get the call, like when they sent Sean down and they're like, well, we have to call somebody else up. I was like, oh, well, he's playing a little bit better now. And then it was Keaton. And then he was on the ice for a lot of goals.
That was a rough call. I was wondering maybe it'd be a good chance to see what Gagné looks like at that level, just like for information, not because he's ready to ascend to the NHL, just to see how he competes at that level, and if he can hang. Anyways, I still think that possibility exists for Alex Gagné in the future.
Yeah.
But Sean Behrens, NHL GMs, don't worry about him. You don't need to worry about him. Going back to the Olympic expectations, I guess it is a good time to talk about the power play because I was curious. You were kind of saying the same thing, like the way that Canada power play is going to be used is going to lean on some of the same players that have struggled for the Avs this year. But I just kind of wondered if it could inspire them, inspire some confidence, and what they can take away from working with and picking the minds of some of the other best power play players around the league. Like, I have to imagine just bumping elbows with Connor McDavid has a positive effect on someone like Nathan MacKinnon.
Yeah. And if you remember after the Four Nations, like the Avs power play was really good last year. It just fell apart in the playoffs. So, I think the best thing that could happen, other than everyone coming back healthy, is for Kale to go there and start scoring power play goals or something like that.
Yeah.
I just don't know how many power plays they're going to get in this tournament. We'll see how it's reffed, but I think that is maybe the biggest thing holding back this power play is that he either doesn't want to shoot or he's not confident in his shot because he's just aiming. Like his shot has just been way off this year. So I think that would be the best thing that could happen for this team is that for Kale to go there and get a couple power play goals and just boost his confidence and just remind him that he is the best defenseman in the world and that he should be shooting the puck more. He shouldn't have to defer to Nate all the time. And just get the puck through and see if that happens. Like, I think that'd be great for them. I don't know if that's going to work with that power play because they have so much skill. Like, I don't know how much they're going to be. It's going to end up with Kale being the guy that shoots the puck, but I think that would just be great for them.
I think so too. I'm curious on the other side of that, McKinnon's role on the success and struggles of the power play this year. I feel like on a personal level, he's kind of dealt with his own issues around it.
Yeah, he's not. It doesn't seem like he's shooting as much on the power play either. He loves forcing it into that bumper spot, which they just haven't had a lot of success with this year. And yeah, like he's probably somebody that is also dealing with Mikko not being on the other side, where Mikko's gonna take a lot of the looks from the defense, where they're gonna have to cover that Royal Road. Can you count the amount of Royal Road passes the Avs have made this year? It's probably on one hand. Like they just have not hit the seam pass this year at all. Yeah, they're just not hitting it because I just don't think Brock Nelson has looked better in that spot, but he's just not he doesn't strike the fear in teams that Mikko does. So they just haven't had that threat from the other side. So it'll be interesting. Like if Nate can pull that off, it's different going from Connor McDavid on one side to Nathan MacKinnon on the other. Right. But if he starts shooting more and gets a little bit more creativity, and I would love for McDavid to be the one that gets Nate to just start moving around more, because I think he gets too many times he just gets stuck on that face-off circle. So get him moving around and hopefully get some mojo back in his game on the power play.
I do think Nate is more dangerous when he's moving. Oh my goodness, we have a super chat from Vaguely Stats. How many live chickens do I need to sacrifice to the taco gods to fix the power play? One chicken is approximately a dozen tacos.
Oh my.
I
don't support sacrificing chickens.
I do not think I can sacrifice any chickens, but I do love.
Does he have chickens?
And unconventional. I don't think we should know the answer to that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Plausible deniability. Vaguely
Stats. Where are you going to find the chickens?
Do what you must. But I like that he's thinking unconventionally here, because it has felt like the Avs power play is a little bit cursed. I guess I wanted to know.
Because they've tried everything. Like they keep changing the.
And it works for a little.
Yeah. Like. So, and I don't know if Corey talked about it, like we think that the best 5 unit that the Avs can run is not have Martin Netjes on the top unit, which is, I think, probably a little bit controversial. But I think it just, if you have a Lehkonen or Nichu, both of them on the top unit, or you can put Landy there when he's there, it's just more simplicity. Like you're telling Nate and Val, or Nate and Kale, like, you guys are the shooters, shoot the puck, and then just have those guys recover it and have them go to the net and create some traffic. because I think Marty fiddles around with the puck a little bit too much, and that kind of leads to like trying to look too much for the perfect pass. But yeah, I think like they've tried everything. They've put Marty on the second unit. They've put these guys they've had Olofsson on the top unit. Like they've tried everything, and it's just nothing's working. And I have no idea what the fix is because nothing's working. And it's not like this has been a bad power play for years. Like I posted the stat, like the Avs and the Mammoth are the top 5-on-5 scoring teams, but they have the worst power plays in the NHL. And people will say, "Oh, well, that's because they're a fast break team." The Avs have been top 10 power play team for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that for whatever reason, it's just not working at all this year. It's almost like the playoffs has just completely mentally still been in their head.
I agree with that, especially with respect to Cale Makar. I think that he recognized the way in which his shot from the point was picked up on by Dallas's PK and wants to find different ways to be a threat on the power play outside of it, such that he's no longer shooting from there. And I do think it's great to have a little bit of deception, a variety of things to lean on. And you don't want to overcomplicate that too. Like I say that cautiously, but that's where I think it's been in Cale Makar's head with a lack of confidence in just shooting. So I wondered too, in talking about the threat of Rantanen from the right circle, is there a way to leverage that Brock Nelson, if it's the guy that's there, is less of a threat to his advantage? Like, is there a way that that could be a layer of deception that hasn't been tapped into fully?
If they can get him to start shooting more, I would say he had a couple of those one-timer goals, and then it's kind of dropped off in recent days. So I think if you get him shooting more, then you can create more of a threat over on that side because he's scored 30 goals. He's probably going to score 30 goals within the first week of them coming back here. So he is a threat to shoot. I think just what separates him and Mikko is that Mikko can pass too. And not that Brock can't, but Mikko is one of the best passers in the world. And it's just a total dual threat that the Avs don't have right now. And it's a unique thing that they had for several years.
It is, because when ahead of Mikko's trade, the power play was going through some struggles, and I felt like Mikko was not passing as much as he used to. I think that especially like along the goal line, he could find kind of impossible seams, and that added that extra threat then past just the shot from the circle. And I felt like he strayed away from that a little bit just ahead of that trade, and that's part of why I felt that power play had gone stagnant. And that's why Marty Netsch's bringing his movement, I think, added some life. So the other thing I'd be curious about is if Marty Netsch's was moved off the top unit, where do you stand on their ability to gain the zone and just zone entry options?
I mean, they did it for years with Nate. Like, I don't understand why they're overcomplicating it. Like, when Marty's not there, you don't need to do like the double drop. Like, just, and I know everyone hates the drop pass, but it's the numbers show that it typically works. Like, most teams in the NHL use it. And you have Nathan McKinnon, who should be able to enter the zone by himself. Like, it's just how it works. So I think they would ultimately be fine. It's just, you don't have two options now. And I know Nate, he's even said, like, sometimes he just gives the puck to Marty and lets him skate and he rests a little bit. So, but you just have Nate be the guy, and it should work most of the time. It just hasn't been consistently the same this year.
And then they've tried a few different things in the bumper spot. Like, where do you stand on that being a central part of the issue here? Is it so much the person that's there? Is it something that PK units have picked up on, that Nate's like trying for the shot, the pass to the bumper that is being picked up on and just has become maybe too predictable?
It's probably that. It's a little bit of also, I know people don't want to talk about Mikko, but like when Mikko's not over there, like they're not expecting that full seam pass. So they're probably just guarding the bumper more. Like they just know that that's the safest option there to cover. So, like Lekkonen's a good guy. Like, it's not like he's a bad player to have there. He scored 20 plus goals multiple times. It's just that the threat is not there from the other side. So they're taking that part away because they know that that's the safest pass for Nate to make.
That's interesting. I feel like, okay. Is there a common thread issue outside of what we've talked about that you're seeing on the power play that's been frustrating?
Just overpassing for one. Like they don't seem to want to just shoot, go get the puck and go get it back. Like I think they're looking for the perfect play, maybe a little bit too much, and maybe
Yeah.
that's part of Marty and like all those guys. Like they're highly skilled players. They want that. They're able to do. They're scoring nonstop at 5-on-5. That they want to do that on the power play. So that could be one thing. But yeah, I just think they're just trying. Like they're in their heads too much.
Yeah.
Like just go back to the basics. And there's too much skill on this power play for
Right.
this to even make any sort of sense. Like it's fascinating just hearing them talk about, oh, look at this Canada power play, and then I'm sure Avs fans will be like, yeah, look at it. 2/5 of it's in Colorado and they can't score.
And it's probably going to look so dangerous in the Olympics.
And maybe that's great. Maybe those guys come back and just like, oh, okay, we can do this. Like now it's out of our heads.
I hope it does reset because I think a lot of it is mental at this point. I guess too, I'm sure you've been asked about this with the new hire and Dave Haxtell being the guy to oversee the power play. Where do you stand on his role in the success of the power play?
I think Nate might be the real power play coach, like ultimately. And I think Jared also, like if you watch at practice, like Jared's making a lot of the calls on the power play. He's talking to those guys. So
fire Bednar.
I think
just kidding.
Haxtell, like, because nothing, like they're not making these sweeping changes to like the way that the power play plays.
Right.
Like, I think it's still just the same guy. So I think it's a lot of like the big guns are running the show here, and it's just they can't find any mojo right now. And I know everyone wants to fire Haxtell, but like there weren't a lot of power play specialists available this summer once I can't remember his name. He was the Edmonton's old coach. That's who I wanted them to go get. But like the Avs don't spend a lot of money on assistant coaches, so they just didn't go get him. And I think Haxtell is a reason why this team's defensively been so good, and I think that kind of gets overlooked. But yeah, I get it. He's the power play coach, and it all falls back on him. I just don't know how much of a difference he's really making, like one way or the other.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what you were saying about the role of Nathan MacKinnon's voice in what's done on the power play, just because I don't think a different coach can make sweeping changes no matter who it is.
Yeah. Also, I guess, and Hextall could be a reason why Brock's so comfortable here. That was his college coach.
Yeah.
That also plays a role there, maybe. So I don't know. I cannot imagine a world where the Avs are letting their assistant coach go where they're in first place in the NHL. As bad as the power play is, I think they're just very much in like, we got to figure this out mode. And, are you going to go find a power play coach on the street here at some point? I don't know. Just seems unlikely to me, but we'll see. Just doesn't seem like it goes with the Avs MO.
No, and I've personally felt like the impact of Haxtell away from the power play, you talk about, the improvements defensively. I think just some of the one-on-one conversations on how players can be more effective on both sides of the puck have translated to immediate success. Like when he's sat down with Parker Kelly, I think it was Bardakov and Brindley. That was one of their best games that followed a conversation with Haxtell. And kind of similarly, Olofsson has worked with Haxtell this year. And I think around some of the more productive stretches of his season, I think it's also why we've seen more consistent results in his engagement and commitment to the defensive side of the puck. So anyways, I think Haxtell is having a positive impact on the team. I know frustratingly to some, like it's just not on the power play, so obviously, but it's tangible in other parts of their game that have been important.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot we don't see when it comes to the coaching staffs.
Well, that's all I have. Figured we'd end on the power play just because it's interesting that a team has so few blemishes, but the one they have just feels like a very angry red pimple.
Yeah, and I get it because it killed them in the playoffs last year. It could easily kill them in a 7-game series this year. It's hard to like truly figure out what's wrong because they have so much skill on this power play that it doesn't make a ton of sense why they're struggling so badly.
Yeah.
So if Nate and Cale go and score 5 power play goals over the next 2 weeks and come back and struggle, then it won't make any more sense to me. I don't understand.
Yeah. I'm hoping to, like, do you think the amount of season left coming out of the break is enough to get it right?
I don't know, because they're not going to be able to practice at all. So it's just, and I think teams are just, the refs are just going to probably not call as many penalties down the stretch, like usually how it goes. So, yeah, I don't know how many opportunities they're going to get because like even morning skates, they're probably not even going to do morning skates at this point when
Yeah.
you're playing this many games in such a short period of time, that it's just going to be all video work and hope for the best. And you have to hope for the best at this point, because I don't know what else they can do on the power play if they're not going to fire the coach and bring in someone that's going to completely change things up.
Personally, like if we entertain that even for a second, I don't think that would produce the right result.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it would even produce a result I trust in. Just because Avs had a fine power play last year and it fell apart in the playoffs. Like, I think the biggest tell is the one you have to wait for, and that's what it looks like in the playoffs. And I know that's probably unsatisfactory to just hope and pray that it will be fine in time for the playoffs, but that's the most significant timing in my eyes. And so I don't know that there's a magic formula then for the right amount of time for them to perfect it in the regular season, just because it might not matter as much if it's not consistent in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I just hope for our sake and getting yelled at online that it gets scoring a couple more goals here down the stretch.
Me too. I do think, like, not just for the players' confidence, which is the biggest thing in all of it, just to quiet the noise around it too. I think that's probably not helping the players to build up their confidence. There's just pressure, a lot of external pressure and noise around the failures of the power play through this point. So I agree with you. Well, that's all I have for today. I did want to ask if there are any pieces you're working on right now that you're excited about, or a piece you've worked on recently that's like kind of a favorite.
I'm doing like a dad's thing. What unfortunately the two biggest dads on the team have been hurt for the last month, so
Yeah.
I need to get Devon and Gabe to work on that. But I talked to Brett Heimlich, the video coach, last month, and I had a big write up on him, over 2,000 words, that I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone's talked to him since he's been here, and it was a lot of insight into his thoughts on goalie interference and challenges and just everything he does for this team. Because it's more than just challenges; he does a lot more than that. And then also I talked to Tyson Barrie about his beer, and it's just a fascinating thing that's where he is. And Tyson's such a great guy, and
he seems like a great person.
His beer is available in Colorado now, so
okay,
everyone can go get it. And yeah, those are probably the two from the last month, and
that's awesome.
Probably gonna chill a little bit here during the break.
Chill with a chili one, right? Chili ones?
I haven't found them, but I know they're available, like in Bonnie Bray area. So
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I didn't know how niche it would be to track some down, but
I think it's starting to spread a little bit more. But yeah,
cool.
I'll be looking.
That maybe vaguely says maybe Nate's been drinking too much of that beer.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Did you hear his comment today? He's totally locked in at the Olympics.
The headline too of like he's surrounded by all of the world's greatest athletes and he's not really interested in caring about that.
Sounds about right.
He's locked in. But I'm excited to start watching some of the Olympic stuff, and I do hope that somewhere on the other side of this is Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar building up their confidence. I mean, heck, I don't know what role Brock Nelson's going to play for Team USA, but I hope he silences a lot of haters who didn't think he should have been one of the guys for Team USA.
I think he's already done that.
I still have people in my mentions, Evan, saying like he's a role player and he shouldn't have been there. I don't know.
They took worse players than him. They should target the other people.
That's what's frustrating me. And then I don't also want to throw, like, I don't have an issue with Vinny Trocheck. Actually, kind of
like the other guy.
Yeah. anyways. Oh, that's going to do it for the show today. Evan Rawal of the Denver Gazette. Be sure to go check out those pieces, the Tyson Barrie, the Heimlich piece for video coach, and then a dad's piece on the way. Sounds really awesome. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, guys. We'll be back with some more content later this week.